John,
Angie.
I was thinking about my coaching career and how I got here.
Oh, okay. And what did you come up with?
The truth, completely by accident.
So I guess you're saying that you're an accidental coach.
I guess you could really say that.
It's an interesting thought. Maybe we could dive into that on today's episode.
Yeah, let's do that.
Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie, the show for professional coaches that explores the ins and outs of coaching, from working with clients through to running and marketing your coaching business.
If you're a professional coach who's committed to your own personal and professional growth, cares about making a difference, and wants to have a successful coaching business, you're in the right place.
My name's John Ball.
And I'm Angela Bezignano.
Between us, we have over 50 years of coaching experience and best practices to share with you. From getting started to scaling up your business.
We know what works and what doesn't, as well as what it really takes to have a successful and thriving coaching business.
With new episodes every Wednesday.
Make sure you're subscribed to get them fresh.
You and I just have to say this for people listening. They never get the antics that go on before we start recording. And John said something right before we started recording today. And I thought, and I can't, I'm trying not to laugh because I don't even think I could share it. About becoming a coach. Just why do we choose this or not? Sorry, it was a great little commentary.
And if we could record those bits, but we couldn't publish them.
It would definitely put a different set of glasses on what we actually do. No, I'm teasing. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. I think it's funny. I don't know many people. I think I met literally one person about 6 or 7 months ago who intentionally is becoming a coach. He's very young. He's 18. He's just graduating high school. And I made a statement like, oh, most of us don't do it. He's, oh, I'm doing it totally intentionally. Really?
Well, here's a question for you then, because this is relevant to me too. How old were you when you even knew that coaching was a thing?
Oh, that's an easy one. I'm going to say it was like, this is so crazy. It was like 2000. It was like Y2K.
Probably
is when I realized.
Then, yeah. For me, it was around 2000, 2001, somewhere around there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
For anyone who's not sure how old we are, we had left school by that point. It wasn't in our career options.
We're not talking about it. No. Listen, it's so funny because people always ask. I go on a lot of podcasts now, and everybody wants to know, so tell me about you. How did you get here? And honestly, I have this very quick movie that plays in my mind like a visual, and I lip skidded into this. I did not intentionally become a coach, but I think it was more because of that coaching wasn't so mainstream like as it is now. And if you back then said I'm a coach, people said, oh, for what sport? Nobody made the correlation, right? But the thing is, I was coaching, and I say this out loud all the time. I was coaching before coaching was a thing. I just didn't know that's what I was doing. It was not intentional. I was like maybe a mentor or a trainer. I started out in entry-level management when I was like 18, 19. Somebody said, here's a set of keys. And I could literally tell you at that moment, my leadership journey began, but I had no idea. Like I didn't have any clue.
It's amazing how many aspects of professional life coaching does appear in. And you may not be a professional coach, but you'll be doing some elements of coaching within that. My journey into coaching was intentional. I did plan to become a coach.
Too fancy.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, let me tell you, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Angie, but I used to be a flight attendant.
That was, we had a comment.
A long time ago. And it was whilst I was on a trip one time. I can even remember that we were going to Philadelphia, and the senior crew member on that trip was a life coach, very nice lady called Sally. And I don't know if I doubt she's still flying, but she might still be coaching. And she started talking about coaching, and I was fascinated. And we probably spent the whole trip talking about it. She gave me some books to go and check out. And I think within maybe the week after that trip, I found an online coaching program, which was run by my friend Neil and his wife Natasha, who now live here in Valencia, crazily enough. And I'm actually going for lunch with him tomorrow. But it was just crazy. That's how I got into coaching. So it was very
Mm.
intentional. And I was studying all the materials, planning in my practice sessions around my flights. So I was very much intending that at some point I was going to leave flying and become a coach full
Interesting.
time. So it was very intentional for me. And I'd always been interested in psychology and still, but I didn't want to become a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I didn't feel that was the right path for me. But coaching, being so solution focused, being conversational and goal orientated,
Mm.
really appealed to me. That whole concept really appealed to me. So I'm not psychoanalyzing people. I'm actually just helping them get solution focused and create plans and take action to get to where they want to get to.
Mm.
That
That's
sounds
so
like my kind of thing.
interesting. That's the route that it went for you. I'm like sitting here going, isn't that interesting? Because you said I didn't really, I did. I went and got a degree in psychology. I think that it was probably always like the human condition, if you will, was always a thing for me. It fascinated me. I liked learning about who we are, why do we do what we do. There was definitely intrigue there. But I think what I like now as a coach, I could say, and a speaker, I have landed exactly where I should be. And honestly, if I had known that, I don't know, I could look at it and say, if I had done this back when I realized how much I loved learning about the human element and all of the things, Tony Robbins would be signing my book. Just saying, I'm making the joke. But honestly, because I was very in tune to it, but I took the long route, right? I didn't understand. I went from management to leadership and to all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. A light bulb literally went off in my brain and said, you have been doing this for always. You've
Hmm.
always been doing this. No matter what other title that I had that I carried, I was always more somebody hired me once for an operations position because I also happen to be like very organized and I like to learn how things work mechanically, not technically. Let's everybody knows me. That's a no. But I like to intricate like pick things apart. Well, I hated it. I absolutely it was I did that position for a few years and literally I felt like I was running on the treadmill 10 hours a day. I would get home and I was exhausted and I didn't know why. And it was because it wasn't where I needed to be. It wasn't my wheelhouse. So I really had a lot of discovery before this became intentional. And yeah, like even the speaking piece, I know when that literally clicked for me, but it was not back when I was 19 years old. I thought, but this is probably the misconception. We've talked about this. I thought management meant if I'm in management, it means that I am like leading people. And essentially you should be, but that wasn't the position. I was literally hired. You're supposed to manage. And there wasn't a big focus with any organization or industry at that time on coaching, mentoring, and growth, right? There was no growth mindset back then. Not really, not like it is now.
I'm kind of glad that I didn't know that it was a thing at school because I might have gone down that path and I could see that at that time, it probably wouldn't have gone well. For the things like most people in the UK, particularly, did not know what
Mm,
coaching was.
right.
But also, somebody that young coaching, that's going to be difficult. I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but I would not hire a coach who was like plucked out of college or something like that. I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
They would
Yeah.
have to be exceptionally good for me to even
Yeah.
consider it because there is that thing of age and experience. Similarly to
Yeah.
how I guess we want in political representation, we want people who have age and experience to a degree, not someone who's just come out of studying politics and that's all they've ever done or known. They don't have real world experience. And similarly to
Yeah.
coaches, it's like I think you would struggle as a coach with that little real world experience.
You know what? Yeah, I agree with you. I actually worked for a company several years ago and I trained with this person alongside a person. She was very young. She was in her like just excuse me, sorry. She was in her late 20s, but she had a very young voice on top of it. And the coaching that we were doing was not on Zoom or anything like that. It was done. We were doing it over the phone. And I will say this to you, in terms of coaching skills, because I was helping to train as well. So in terms of the skills and the ability to do the digging, she was natural. She was outstanding. However, when she was assigned clients, executive clients did not want to work with her. They were like, "Why are you giving me this child? I'm not coaching with a child. Like, I'm a 55-year-old executive. What is this person going to help me with?" And I get that because it screams to your point, but there are the occasional exceptions. She was an exception, but mostly I think that's the way the world works is that we're not going to become vulnerable with somebody that we're going like, I could be your mother or something like
There's
that.
so few things in the world where youth is a disadvantage.
Oh,
Let us
yeah.
have this. Let us oldies have no, but no.
Ageism is alive and well.
But seriously, no, I think I would have been effective as a coach. I know when we're sort of 18, 19, 20, we think we know everything. But yeah, we soon learn. Hopefully, we soon learn and realize that we don't. But I can see it why it's a big disadvantage. And
Sure.
a lot of it is just perception that the people, like you said, just won't want to work with somebody who's that young and inexperienced in life. You can't really be mentored by that. And in like, so can you do all the coaching stuff? Yes, but the reality of coaching for most people is that you will bring in consultative and mentorship elements to it. And if you don't have life or business
Yeah.
experience, you're just not going to be able to do that. So it is a
Yeah.
disadvantage. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but it could take a number of years before people are going to properly respect you for doing it and give you your props.
I agree. And I think it depends on what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people that are coming into coaching now aren't just going, "Hey, I'm a life coach." Because back when, that's what it was. I'm a life coach. This is my badge. It's changed since then because now you coach, I coach, but we coach in very different spaces. I think the advantage for somebody who maybe is a little bit younger, that is, I think I want to be a coach, is to go back to what you and I talked about probably like episode 1 or 2 last year, which was, is there a niche? Is there something where you do have experience of some kind, where you're able to then bring that and create something, right, that you can present to the public and sell as your product and as your brand. I think branding is very important now, whereas back in the day, it really wasn't. It was like, I'm a life coach, this is what I'm doing. And I don't want people coming at me going, I was doing XYZ in 1998 or 1985. I'm not saying it didn't exist at all. John's laughing because he knows. I'm just saying it wasn't as mainstream as it is now.
Absolutely.
So there can be a space for you, but that's exactly it. What's the space? What's the talent that you're bringing to being a coach? Like, why do we even become, John's question, why do we even become coaches? Why is that? Why do we become coaches?
Why are coaches? Yeah, it's all interesting. I think there's stuff out there, even for younger people. I'll say this because what was making me think of was like back when I used to, my early days of doing martial arts, when I was young enough and fit enough to do kickboxing, believe it or not. And
Really?
yeah,
There's a new one.
there's something for you. And a lot of fun, very highly aggressive sport to some degree. But I enjoyed it. And sometimes in the group there was a lot of young kids in the martial arts club. And
Mm.
sometimes they would, as part of their leadership journey, be put in charge of teaching groups. And sometimes the head instructor, who was a multiple world champion in kickboxing, would put kids in charge of the adult groups,
Mm.
and stuff would come up
Well, I'm betting. Yeah.
because it challenges the ego of, I'm supposed to learn for this kid, and yet they'd be perfectly good at doing it. They knew how to instruct, and that they would do it very respectfully, and they're great kids. But there is something about us having to maybe step out of our ego or our preconceptions,
Sure.
because we do have these more archetypal ideas inside our mind about what a coach or a teacher or a mentor or guide should look like and be like. And it's usually not
Yeah.
some young kid.
No, and I think there's the authority there. I think a lot of, like, just say the public, right? The people looking for coaches, they have an expectation, unspoken or maybe spoken, where it's like, you need to know more than me. If you're going to be the pace car, if you're going to be the person that's driving me or driving alongside of me, there's this idea of authority. And I think that most adults, more mature people, maybe in their, say, 40s, I'm making that up, don't look at somebody maybe in their late 20s as an authority figure. And that creates the block right then and there. No, I can't do this. I can't talk to somebody that's, I honestly, I'm being honest. No, my gosh, maybe this is going to get cut, but I probably myself wouldn't hire as a coach somebody in their 20s. I probably would not, because of who I am, how I am, and I know that I immediately would pummel. I would just take over and be like, "Why aren't you asking me this?" Like, it'd probably become too much of a teaching moment, but
Well,
that's my truth.
but if I did want to, not that I would ever do kickboxing again, I'm just too old for it now, but I think probably. But if I did want to do martial arts training again, or if I did, like, I swim every day pretty much. I saw this morning there was a swimming coach at the pool, and probably mid-20s. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Sure.
I generally wouldn't. But if I'm
Yeah.
looking for coaching for my business, if I'm looking for coaching for my life or philosophy, I'm probably not going to look to someone in their 20s as well. I'm sorry about it for
Yeah.
any of our listeners who are in their 20s. It's just realistic. I'm not going to look for it. But it doesn't mean if I saw what you're offering and it looked really good that I wouldn't still consider it. I'm just not
I
going
have
to
to say
probably look
this.
for it.
No, and I think you're right, but I want to say this, and this could be this. I'm literally just off the cuff thinking out loud here. And this could be just my perception, but I have to say this. I feel like people in their 20s nowadays, because I'm in my mid 50s, right? I'm rounding, I'm going around, I'm pushing 60. And I will say this, and again, perception maybe, I feel like people in their 20s now are much more mature than like my generation in their 20s. I think they have higher level positions. Some of them are actually having children. Like, so I do feel like there is an element of change that has happened. Again, it could be just my perception because I was in it at the time, so I don't know. But I have had conversations with people that were colleagues or friends that are in that age group by just by accident. And sometimes I'm like a little shocked. Oh, that was a pretty mature, like in my mind, I'm saying that was a pretty mature or a really high level conversation I just had. And it's a little bit surprising because I wasn't having those conversations like that back then. So I don't know, John, like I'm making that up, but I do feel like in defense of what I know people are probably going, why the hell are they bashing us? We're not. We're just
No,
saying,
maybe even comparing to just ourselves when we was that age, I guess. I would say I would probably have. I know I wouldn't have made a good coach at that, and I wasn't really interested in that anyway until I was probably around 30. That was the age when I discovered coaching more or less and decided
yeah,
that was the path that I wanted to go down. I was quite happy just enjoying myself, flying around the world, having laughs, and didn't really want much more than that in my 20s. So I was quite
interesting.
superficial.
Well, I think that if there, no matter, I don't care how old you are. And let me say this for the record, even in the last, say, 10 years of my career, when I was having discovery calls or even working with companies where I was being vetted by the client, it was pretty, some of the questions about me before I started working with this Angie person, who says I should be talking to her? Really? What are her credentials? What is her experience? So understand, I'm not just saying it like, oh, because you're in your younger years that this is what it is.
It's
It even
not.
happens now.
it is that whole thing of establishing your credibility and
Sure.
what my pal Half calls it, earn the right. You have to earn the right
Right.
to be in the
Yeah.
position that you're in. It can't just be assumed. And I would say we are also in a position where just because you maybe have a title or are in a particular position right now, that I think people are maybe more aware than they ever have been that the positions are not what get respect. It does have to be earned. So we still have to earn the right. We still have to prove our stripes and
Yeah.
show our mettle regardless.
Yeah.
But I think it would be foolish to suggest that it's not going to be that much harder if you are wanting to do maybe the kinds of coaching that we do. If you're like, fresh out of college or something
Sure.
like that, it might be a struggle,
Understood.
not impossible. And don't let us put you off, but just be aware of the realities of that. And that's maybe why I'm glad I didn't have that concept at school, even though I think, I would have loved to have been a coach the whole way along. It just probably wasn't very realistic that would
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's
No, and I think it's
not unreasonable.
listen, but I also think that you and I, like we talk about in the beginning, it was a lot harder back then to I feel like this is the snow, walking through the snow conversation when you're a kid. But I do feel like it was a lot harder. You didn't have the social media platforms. You didn't have a way to get in front of people. And it was a lot harder because it was a newer concept. People were laughing. I know I talked about this. There was somebody in a networking group that I belonged to at the time, and he was a life coach, and people were laughing. And I say to them, he is still, and that was 2001. So 24 years later, he is laughing all the way to the bank because he saw what was coming. So I think the big question that we were even starting to talk about today was around, like, why do I want to become a coach? And I think that a lot of it is because for some people that I talk to, it's more about the getting, like, what I can work from anywhere and I can do all these things and I can charge this and I can help people. And that's all great. But I think it also has to come, like, the question needs to be answered more from the perspective of what am I offering? I know what the benefits are for me, but what is it that I'm going to actually be putting out there? Why? Why do I really want to be a coach? I know people that are coaches because they just love telling people what to do. John and I don't work like that, but some people are satisfying some other void, and it's not necessarily coming from a place of, I have something to offer. The world needs this.
And I maybe have said this before on episodes, but there are some great people who are naturally great coaches. They just ask the right questions. They dive in the right places. They pick up on what's being said and not being said. And great. Some of us have to
Hmm.
learn those things. Some of us may really struggle to ever master them. Everyone's in different places, but it doesn't mean you can't still bring something to the table as a coach. But there are definitely coaches out there who are great at the marketing and branding and not great at the
Mm.
delivery. They're not
Oh,
actually
yeah.
great
Yeah.
coaches, but they have all the packaging and the marketing
Hmm.
setup going. And a lot of the coaches who are great at coaching are not good at all those things or don't even like doing all those things. And there are some coaches, and probably becoming more so because there's more people teaching this stuff now, who are good at all the marketing and branding now and have the help and support to be good at it, and also
Sure.
great at delivering that. And if you have those things, if you're good at the marketing,
Yeah.
packaging, business elements of it, and you can deliver excellent coaching, I think you're made. I really do. I think you are going to have so much success. But I think if anyone who's good at the coaching stuff can learn all the other stuff. But I think if you're good at all the marketing and branding and not good at the coaching, you can learn some of it. You can probably get better at that. I think you'd have to want to get better at that. But if you don't, I think you may find that your business isn't going to last.
Listen, that's maybe something we should talk about in an episode is how to create longevity in your coaching practice
Yeah.
because there's a lot more competition now. And I think the number is, and don't quote me, but it's somewhere around in the last 5 years, the coaching industry has grown by 500%. That's
Okay.
an unbelievable number. And it's a realistic number. And it was already on its way. And then COVID hit. And what happened? We were doing like remote work, and people were like, now what do I do? Oh, I'll become a coach. And that's okay. You got to here's the lemons, let's make lemonade. But the result, regardless of how we got here, is that it is becoming a very saturated industry. So you really need to figure out how you're going to differentiate yourself from everybody else. It's
and
definitely becoming
and
much more
make
difficult.
sure that you are following this show, because this is the kind of stuff that we talk about
Yeah, that's why we're
every
here.
week. Every week. We need to close the
Yeah.
doors to the coaching clinic today, Angie. But look, you can get in touch with either of us. Our LinkedIn profiles are in the show notes. So, if you're on your Android or on your mobile device, you can, through LinkedIn, send us a voicemail or a video message. We'd love to hear from you. You can leave
Mhm.
us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/the coaching clinic podcast. For about 90 seconds, it's completely free. You will need to use a microphone to be able to do that, but we'd love to hear from you. How did you get started in coaching? What is your why for coaching? What are the things that you would like to be better at? What are the challenges to experiencing coaching? We want to hear all of it. So get in touch with the show and we will feature you on a future episode. But for now, we're obviously glad to have Angie back and that you're feeling much better. We've missed
I'm
you.
back.
But you are
Yay.
back, baby. And we'll see you again very soon.
All right. Bye for now.